All right. So a very warm good morning or good afternoon to Emily and Aman, depending upon the time zone you're in. My name is Kuldeep. I'm the senior strategist at Enalito Automation, and we are an AI company working in the field of retail and technology, building uh, algorithms to understand the behavior of consumers and behavior of products and solve those critical challenges in the retail space. And I'm really delighted to have a very distinguished panel with us today. We have on the panel Aman Advani, who is the CEO at Ministry of Supply, and we have Emily Kenison. She's the founder of emikeni.com. Before we begin, I would like to give a brief introduction for Aman and for Emily. Emily, welcome. Aman, welcome. Let me give a brief introduction, then we'll follow up with a question answer session. Um, Let me begin with Emily. Emily is the founder and inventor, and she has built her venture emikeni.com as well as straplets and robocalls. And robocalls had just won the 2021 Beauty Innovations Award. And Emily is a lawyer turned inventor, and she has done her Bachelor of Arts degree from Columbia University, and her uh, she has also done her law degree from School of Law, New York University, and she has been doing some amazing work. And I think she is putting her knowledge and trying to invent new things. Emily, welcome to the panel. Great to
Thank
have
you
you.
very much. Very excited to be here.
Thank you. Then let me go to Aman. Aman Advani is the co-founder and CEO at Ministry of Supply, and Aman had studied from MIT Sloan School of Management, Boston. And at Ministry of Supply, the brand used innovative material and purposeful design to solve the everyday problem that traditional clothing present. And they're pioneering a new way to dress for the office, whether that would be at desk or on the go. And with a system of where to work clothing designed to take you for the daily, they are redefining the work wardrobe uh, to help their consumers. And especially during the pandemic, I think they did an amazing job. Uh, what started as a performance business wear company has now pivoted into a sophisticated work leisure clothing brand that's ready to help the consumers. And because the smarter you dress, the smarter you work. That's what they believe in. So Aman, great to have you on the panel. Thank you so much for taking out time today. So we have got 45 minutes. So let me be creative. And so my first question is about purpose. Okay. So what is the purpose of your brand? And feel free to share your thoughts. Let me go to Aman to begin with, maybe.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, first again, thanks so much for having me here. This will be a fun conversation. I'm excited to hear Emily's perspectives as well. One of the things we always kind of start with when we introduce our brand is that the world doesn't need another clothing company. And we recognize the irony of saying that being a clothing company ourselves. But for us, the initial goal of the company, which really hasn't changed, was kind of this moment in the morning where you're getting dressed and you just despise everything you might be about to put on, or you can't wait to get home from work afterwards and take it all off and put your comfy clothes on. Where real work often gets done kind of on the couch at night, or as we learned in the pandemic, on the couch during the day. And so our kind of goal as a company, or kind of why, was using science and technology, which is kind of our superpower, to unlock that level of comfort and presentability in what you might wear to work, whether that be an office, a coffee shop, a restaurant, didn't matter. How could we use kind of our superpower and unlock that productivity and joy, all while being extraordinarily conscious of planetary impact? So could we be driven by science and good for the planet, and somehow still using those constraints or those tools that rather create clothing that you actually look forward to putting on every morning instead of kind of dreaded, or dreaded taking off at night instead of looked forward to, right? So that's the goal of the brand, and it's a full kind of ready to wear men's and women's line based here in Boston, and that really hasn't changed since we started this company 9 years ago.
Wow, excellent, excellent. So you picked up a very important problem statement, and I think you aced it. So, oh, that's a very interesting thought. And you also mentioned about sustainability and for planet. So, wow, that's something I think people love. I think people want to use things from brands which are socially responsible and taking all those steps towards sustainable environment, sustainable development. Great. Let me quickly go to Emily also and get her thoughts on how she started and her purpose.
Sure. How I started, as we were talking before, I was definitely inspired by other female inventors. Sarah Blakely, the founder and inventor of Spanx. You have Joy Mangano, who is the founder and inventor of Joy, her brand, but then also the Wonder Mop. And there's a great movie about her life story and how she brought QVC to where it is today as a platform for inventors to showcase true innovation in the consumer space. So those stories definitely inspired me to think outside the box, to make it feel like if there are problems in my everyday life, why not me? Why not I try to find a solution to it? And realizing that, big brands, there is a lot of weight and delay when it comes to true innovation. And so it really can be the customer who is empowered to find something new and different. And it doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be overly complicated. It can be simple and just looking at your world and how you can create new solutions, those everyday problems that might just make millions of lives a little bit better. That's huge. And so our brand is definitely focused on creating true innovations and really bringing to market products that will make those consumers' lives a little bit better in their everyday world.
Wow, excellent, Emily, I must say, because I think looking at things differently and coming up with an innovation or that product that can bring a little difference and something that can be in the consumer's mind for their day-to-day use. I think that's a very rewarding thing. And it's basically doing value addition ultimately. Right from the morning till the time we go to sleep, we are using so many different products, but I think we use those products which does value addition for us. So I think excellent. I mean, I'm really happy that you are kind of observing and looking at things differently. So excellent.
Yeah.
Let me go to Aman and ask this very interesting question. Aman, you are now a brand which is known and with a very strong purpose. People know you, people are buying from you. But I would like to ask you, what is that one challenge that you and your co-founder have faced while you were starting out? If you could share something, that would be great.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to share. It's been I think there's so many answers we can give to that, and the amount of lessons learned the hard way are too long to share in any one session. So I'll jump to the first one that came to mind. 2 years ago, just pre-pandemic, we were really leaning into this idea of kind of a replacement for business casual, or we called it performance professional. This idea of kind of what you might wear to an office. What might replace like a traditional, Brooks Brothers business casual outfit, right? We can all picture what that looked like. And pretty quickly, within a matter of days, that died and really hasn't recovered. And frankly, we hope it never does. And we were forced with this challenge of kind of having to pivot the business on a dime to figure out how to speak a language that not only would be relevant during the pandemic so we could survive to see the other end of it, but more importantly, would be relevant on the other end of it. And fortunately, for about a year, we had been quietly starting this. And so we got a little bit lucky that the timing aligned with some momentum already in progress to move away from performance professional, as we were calling it, and towards work leisure, which was a term that actually I think was coined by the New York Times when they did a big profile on this pivot. And they kind of explained our bet, as they called it, on work leisure. And it's something we kind of take a great amount of pride in, was saying, hey, instead of kind of waiting this thing out, we not only tried to pivot into, for a while, making a lot of masks, as many did, 3D printed them 6 days into the pandemic, which was kind of novel at the time. And but then afterwards saying, what do we hope the world looks like after the pandemic? Or we hope people aren't chained to office desks, but rather given the freedom to work wherever they want. So we built our own workplace policy around that. We hope people are given the freedom to, if they don't want to wear a belt or heels or brown leather shoes, they shouldn't have to. And so could we kind of go through that? So I think we were a little bit lucky in catching a little bit of momentum in that we were able to make that pivot, but kind of doubling down on our why, our purpose, while being really open to giving up on our how and what, including channel strategy, moving away from all of our stores, which all shut down, as you might imagine, at the beginning of the pandemic. So pivoting the why, pivoting the how and the what, while doubling down on the why was our big takeaway.
Wow, very interesting. So work leisure. Okay, so that's what you pivoted. Excellent. I think that's a very interesting thing. So you figured out an opportunity again, and I think you moved a step further. Excellent. Emily, I think your product, I think you as an inventor are always trying to identify gaps and opportunities out there. If you know the world of retail and how dynamic it is, and things are changing every day. I think new trends are coming in. So as an inventor or someone who has Sarah as her mentor, what do you think the next trend will be in the field of retail? Any specific thing you would like to share? Just an observation that you have.
So what we're finding, most recently we launched Robe Curls, which is a heatless curling headband that I'm wearing, inspired by a viral TikTok hack where women were using a bathrobe belt to curl their hair during the pandemic, just wrapping their hair around it, wearing it to bed, waking up perfect curls. So it turned it into a wearable solution. And we launched in October 10th. By December 10th, we were in 130 Walgreens stores. We were on Amazon, but our Amazon page was like bare bones. You know, it was a team of me and my life and business partner, Kennedy, and we were just working on it 24/7, but there's only so much we can do. We had our Shopify store as well. We put it up, and we also had an Instagram, social media pages, but like trickling when it comes to the amount of content we were putting out there. It is not our focus. And so looking at that as our realm, you know, we have Walgreens, which is awesome, with a couple months in 130 stores, and we're growing now in Walgreens. And then we have Amazon and Shopify. We find that Amazon is the future. Customers are comfortable with shopping on Amazon. Even if they find us through Shopify and they get to our page, if they find it on Amazon, they're going to want to buy it on Amazon. It's that security blanket. And so even though our initial thought for our product was let's land a mass retailer first, and I'm like so, you know, lucky and proud that we did actually nail that. It was more from a strategy on the marketing side than from the sales side, because even in an all doors distribution across the door, you know, all the different doors, Walgreens, Target, Ulta, if you look at all the different opportunities we have on our hand, it pales in comparison to Amazon, is the truth. And that's what we're finding. And I think Amazon is the future, and it's a very interesting space because even in the past year, past 2 years, you see Amazon developing the platform to be much more brand centric, to be a platform where brands can tell their story more and more. They're starting to do it now. It's just going to be further developed. And that is really the element that we're missing from Shopify, along with the data, is that platform to tell your story and grab customers through that storytelling. So it is cool to see Amazon moving towards that side of their platform and pushing that direction, because I think that just further means that it will become more of the future. But yes, retail has definitely been more of a marketing strategy than anything.
Wow, excellent insight. So how you discovered that product and how you made it available for everyone. And I think I saw that video and I was like, wow, how innovative that is, because there are so many things out there which people have used, but what you came up with, but I think you looked at things differently. So I think kudos to that. Excellent. So, and as an extension, Shopify and Amazon, I think Amazon definitely is an extremely good channel that for brands to leverage upon. Great. Let me quickly go to Aman and ask this question. Aman, your brand is established. So if you can share some thoughts on scaling up a brand, let's say first few years is like where you reach a stage where you have made an establishment for your brand. How do you take your brand to the next level of growth? If you can share some of the things that you are done in the past to like take it to the next level, or what are some of the growth hacks that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I'll actually jump off of a point that Emily just made that I loved, which was basing this product off of an existing trend that people were excited about. And I think that if more people thought like that, we'd all be better off. Which the beauty in that thinking is that you're answering a real need. You're sure at the very beginning that you're creating a product that people are actually pulling. And this is kind of going back to when I said the world doesn't need another clothing brand, right? We don't need to push stuff anymore. Enough is pushed. But we need to listen to what's being pulled. And really the only growth hack is a great product, right? I think that sounds a little bit cliche to say, but time and time again, we found that if we develop the tool before the problem, it will fail.
Yeah.
We use this saying a lot, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And in that way, how do we make sure we don't push things out, but rather continue to listen? So our growth hack has been continuing to get better and better at listening to what the customer is genuinely asking for. And it turns out the customer knows what they want. As an example, my partner Gihan and I both answer, I would guess, somewhere close to between us 15 to 20 customer emails a day, and probably 5 to 10 each. And these are, parts of automated flows of our kind of drip campaigns that go out to customers and solicit feedback, information, or just interactions. And those conversations are so rich, and they allow us to have these constant, probably, a couple hundred a month, customer touch points, unique customer touch points. You start to build trends pretty quickly and understand what people are genuinely asking for. So I can certainly go down paid marketing, channel hacks and talk about, how good catalog has been for us. We can give all those tips. I'm happy to. But I think the first part is just at the very beginning, having a keen, deep, and recurring sense of what the customer is asking for. And this TikTok example is so perfect because it's based on a core customer need.
Yeah.
I think that's absolutely it's not actually a hack, but it's the first thing, and it is easier said than done.
Wow, and that's an amazing point that you mentioned, like listening to the consumers. I think basically when you listen to your consumers, the feedback that they give you, I think it's worth millions of dollars, because they are the ones who are using the product. And yeah, I think TikTok, absolutely, because I think the world that we are living in, now there are no boundaries as such. So like ultimately the brands and consumers can have a direct dialogue and interaction. Typically earlier it used to be like a research being done and then a product comes out and then it goes to shelf. But now I think the trends are changing. I think brands and stakeholders can have a direct conversation. I think great. I think what I can pick up from what you, Aman, mentioned is listening to your consumers' feedback very carefully. Everything that they say, either through a chat or an email, can be really a game changer for a brand, and to pivot and to come up with new things. Excellent insight. Let me go to Emily. And Emily, you are a lawyer, and so you know how ideas and patents work, and how once you have a patent, how rewarding that thing can be. So for direct to consumer brands who are coming up with different trends, so what are your thoughts on kind of patenting, let's say, the new product ideas, typically in the world of fashion? Is that even possible, or what are your thoughts?
Very good question. So the world of fashion is very nuanced with what you can and cannot patent. And it really is an anomaly to be able to get a patent in fashion. And that's part of the reason why Sara Blakely was able to build $1 billion company off of Spanx, because it held away competitors for 21 years. And so it has to be novel, it has to have a functional purpose, it has to be non-obvious. There are all these requirements to it. So in fashion specifically, it tends to be more rare. I'm very proud of the fact we have patents. Is my background's in law. I loved intellectual property, and specifically as it pertains to the art and the fashion space. So Strapless, my first brand, has I think over 13 patents worldwide, utility, and it's a footwear fashion accessory. And then Rogue Curls likewise has a lot of legal behind it.
Wow.
One thing I'll mention though that I find it is very rewarding. It gives you, some protection, but you only have the protection to the extent you want to enforce it. Do you want to go into a lawsuit? Do you want to really push down these avenues? We have a lot of knockoffs already,
Yes.
months in the market, and it's hilarious. They're just popping up, copy paste.
Yeah.
And the extent to which you want to engage in those battles is really a business decision, and one that, having been a bootstrap company, is not one we're jumping into. We'll send common, cease and desist letters, but, and protect our IP up to a certain point, but we're not diving into litigation or anything like that. That would just stall our growth, and it's not worth our time. What I will add that is interesting is that Amazon is now creating a new legal framework within which brands will be playing. The world in which you have to sue, to litigate, to get brands to, compensate you for using your designs, stealing your IP. That is a very antiquated notion and very slow for the fast-paced digital world we're in. And Amazon is reconfiguring what that process looks like if you're an Amazon brand. And so, having trademarks filed, but they're not granted yet, that gives you some type of protection. So I foresee brands using these Amazon legal nuances, this Amazon legal platform, in a different way than what they would traditionally use if they were a brand using the US court system. And so it's a very new space as well, and being developed, but it is interesting to see how can we use Amazon's legal system to our advantage and combine it with the government IP that we have.
Well, excellent input, I must say. That's very, very important, because especially coming up with a new product or it's a very tough thing. And I think seeing that it is being kind of abused, or I think not getting rewarded for your own product, it can be very disheartening. So I think this is a great input, I must say.
Yeah. It's disheartening and it's flattering.
Yeah.
I'll put it both ways.
Yeah,
You're doing
absolutely
something right if people are copying you.
Yeah, and I think it's helpful. I think because once you have a patent, I think it's a great value add, and I think this is not something like another one, but something which is different. So I think it definitely gives you an edge. Very interesting point. Let me go to Aman. And Aman, being the retail world is changing, I think pre 2000 it was just websites. Then I think now we have moved to the world of like a direct to consumer site. Then you have an Amazon channel. You can sell it on Instagram. You have so many channels on which you can sell and connect with your consumers. But how do you look at the new things that are coming up, like augmented reality or virtual reality or mixed reality or metaverse for that matter? What do you think? How those channels will help your brand? What are your thoughts? How do you look at it?
Yeah, it's a great one. I think one of the things we've realized over time, as we have a certain kind of finite amount of creative energy and innovation to pour into our business, is that we are best off pouring every ounce of that into the product.
Okay.
And everywhere else, we tend to be late majority or late adopters in general. And perhaps, at a cost, right? I mean, if we were able to get in on, I know TikTok advertising is like $2 CPMs and everyone's all over it right now.
Yeah.
We'll get there eventually. I'm sure we will advertise on TikTok like a year from now. And by then the arbitrage will be gone, and that's okay. For us, I think we've generally had this concept of all of that early, adopter, innovative mindset has to be poured into our value proposition, which sits entirely inside the four walls of the product, right? The kind of what's under the hood of the product we're making. So pre-pandemic, we had 7 stores. We shut them all down. We only reopened the Boston flagship. That's okay. It's tough, right? It's tough to swallow. We spent, a lot of money and time building those out, but our channel strategy doesn't define us. Our product does. And so in that way, we'll experiment. Now, that being said, we do have to find kind of the path of least resistance that brings our product to our customer in the most efficient way that they want, not that we want. So we do need to serve them, right? It's why we have a flagship store still open, is that if people want to just call and talk to a human, show up somewhere, that option does exist, albeit only for people that are in or visiting Boston. If people want to buy through wholesale, we've got, a number of wholesale accounts around the country that are kind of on a self-serve model. We have no wholesale team here in our HQ. So we want to kind of open those doors and reduce the friction, but at the same time, just do what we're good at, which is tell great stories about wonderful product that exists for a reason. And so in that way, I think we were probably not the ones to ask about the latest and greatest channel strategy, and that we'll get there eventually, but probably after you.
So that's a good strategy, I must say. So what you mentioned, you putting all the efforts in your product and making sure that customers love it, and ultimately following, using the channels that can work in favor of consumers. Yeah, I think, but I think it's interesting how you're using, because I think so many channels are available, and I think the world that we are living in is what they say omni-channel, right? So you have to be present on all the channels. You never know where the consumer can come from. And like in a day's time, we see hundreds of ads. And if we try to recall which brand have we seen last time, we don't know. So typically, I think all these channels are kind of an extension just to get into the minds of the consumer. So yeah, I think every brand has to choose and kind of leverage upon the channels outreach. So I think, yeah, that's excellent strategy, I must say, Aman. I'm good to know that you have like flagship stores, and I think talking to a human definitely makes a big difference, and that's always gonna be there. I think no matter how much metaverse will flourish, but ultimately, I think offline stores are definitely going to be there. Excellent. I think my next question, it's a follow-up question. I think 2021 has taught us that never take things for granted. And I think the world that we are living in, it's so turbulent and times are changing. So how do you look at 2022 or 2023, taking into account supply chain issues, or let's say manpower crunch, or different challenges, or logistics costs rising day by day? So you as brand owners, how do you look at these things, and what do you think, how to solve these according to you? What are the solutions that you are trying to use for solving these challenges? Anyone can come in, Emily or Aman.
Well, as mentioned, Robe Curls we launched in October. We've been out of stock 50% of the time. Just because we're a new brand, we're not able to just forecast demand correctly. We have our advisors, we run our numbers, we're like, okay, 5,000, 15,000, 50,000 units, this will be enough, and it never is. So we're in that learning curve. Add to it supply chains issues, logistics issues, all of those things. I think the one saving grace for us is that our manufacturing partner in this journey is phenomenal. So, we can count and trust on their word that they say, okay, the product will be here in 45 days, 60 days. That is huge, because we've worked with other partners where that is not the case during this pandemic. And so, just making sure you have the right partner is a huge win, because even if they're telling you it's not going to be here for 3 months, then at least you can gauge your expectations and figure out how to pivot internally accordingly. But I think it's being in that limbo of, you think it's coming, you think logistics is going to be okay, you think this is going to be the cost, and then it's not. That's the problem. That's the most hard for business owners.
Great input. So having the right partner and then learning from the data points. Excellent thought.
Yeah.
Aman, how about you? How do you look at it?
I think that's spot on. I really think it's a better answer than I was going to give. So I'll just double down on that one. I would add that on top of building a strong infrastructure yourself, accepting the fact that you can't change the system a little bit, right? Unless that's your intent. Yeah. Just makes it a little less stressful, and saying it is what it is. There are going to be supply chain delays. The cost of air shipping has exploded. Yeah. Sea shipping too, right? So delays are going to happen. They're inevitable. How do you build around that and expect it and have agility as kind of a core value is probably a safer route than attempting to find some new and novel shipping technique or find some way to kind of beat the system, because I think you might go a little bit crazy trying to figure out how to beat a system that
Mhm.
everybody is, suffering with. And rather, I would take Emily's advice and triple down on your infrastructure and your partners
Yeah.
to make the most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having those partners who can, because I think I was reading an article where it was earlier it was just in time, and now it's like just in case. So
Mm.
you should be ready, right? And you never know what can disrupt, because now that the pandemic has settled down, so demand will come in. But if something or the other breaks globally, because we're so interconnected, that
Mhm.
one dominoes fail, it's like a trickle down effect everywhere. And because ultimately the consumer has to pay the price, right? You and so I think all the marketing effort, all the brand building effort ultimately is making sure that the consumers come to your channel to buy. But if the consumer face that brunt because of all these variables, ultimately that conversion doesn't happen. So
Mm.
taking this as a context, my follow-up question is on how do you guys understand the consumer behavior? Because you already know who your consumers are, you already define their personas by a persona, but how do you understand the consumer behavior? How do you study your store data, and how do you get your insights? And what, if I may ask, like, how do you kind of use that data point to then do something about it? Let's say something different in your marketing effort, or a different marketing campaign, or a different email campaign. So how do you look at these things? How do you analyze your behavior, consumer behavior? Because that's like the most important piece of asset that you have, because as a store you are sitting on a ton of data, but are you using it to the fullest? That's the question. So what are your thoughts on it?
Well, my honest answer is we don't really dive into the data in the traditional sense. Going back to Aman's emphasis on the customer and a really good product and caring about the customer. We do offer one-on-one curling tutorials. They're
Okay.
virtual, 15 minutes, but it's a way to make sure that when the customer gets the product and they try it and they watch our tutorial videos online and like things aren't working out, like we are still here. We
Mhm.
stand by our product. We made it great. We know it's going to work. Just give us another shot and we'll help you. And so in those video sessions, which I do personally, I do about 10 a week at least. But it's an incredible opportunity to hear, why they purchased the product, what they love about it. And then on top of it, how they're describing the different steps that teach them how to use it. So, I might describe one step one way, but they're calling it something else. So learning how to educate our customers the best about our product, I
Mhm.
think is really the data we're trying to gather to make sure that they're supported from pre-purchase through purchase. And we use that, one-on-one sessions to really gather that data. And that's where the revisions go throughout our marketing efforts. Websites, video content we'll make based on what customers are asking about during those sessions.
Excellent. How about you, Aman? How do you analyze your
I think that's a really great answer. I think Emily's pointed out I think that the best answer here is just in person, right? Real human interactions, connections that,
behavior?
take all the context away and you hear and feel it, that directly feed back into the design pipeline are really the only sure shot way to get this. We've added another layer on over the last few years that we internally refer to as kind of quantified empathy. How can you take just thousands of data points and turn them into quantifiable actions? And so what we do is our customer service team,
Mhm.
anytime they get any feedback, positive, negative, any sort of feedback they get is cataloged relentlessly by every dimension you could possibly can think of. It's quite a painful and difficult process. And we know that it's a lot of work to go into it, but
Yeah.
because of that, we can really pinpoint exactly what might be wrong or right about a product at any given point. So we could tell you how many socks got a hole in it, in Oklahoma on a Wednesday on the left
Mhm.
foot, right? And through this quantified empathy system, we can be sure that it's not just the loudest voices that get heard, but rather the average voice that gets heard. So we can take that information and feed it right directly back into our design development crew, who are reading and watching, this data in real time. And when they're going to redesign our flagship suit, can look at this data in aggregate without having to comb through thousands of individual points of data and discern these kind of key ideas to bring back into it. So I think some combination of everybody, and then to Emily's point, one-on-one, really deep human interactions. We have an option on our website where you can shop with a founder, and we kind of bury it a little bit, but people find it, and when they do, it's great. We enjoy it. We have these 15-minute shop-alongs, and they're wonderful. So I think nothing beats human interaction.
Wow, quantified empathy. That's a phenomenal term that you have coined. Wow, I must say, because I think that can only come after years of being in the business and kind of listening to the consumer relentlessly, and ultimately, I think it's like a channel which feeds into the next stage of product development. Excellent insight. I think this can be very useful for brands who are already there, and because in today's world, more than anything, I think that empathy, that ability to listen, is the most important thing. I think for Aman, we have got 6 more minutes. So I think I'll have a few more questions for Aman, and then Emily, we can carry on for the next 15 minutes. So Aman, for Ministry of Supply, what is the long-term vision? I mean, how do you look at your brand? Let's say you want to be recognized in the leagues of these brands, for example. Who is that one brand that you look up to, like an aspiration? Just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, we get this question a lot, and for a while it's kind of like, who is that? For us early on, we were looking at a lot of these kind of business casual brands. We're looking at Brooks Brothers, J. Crew, Banana Republic, and Taylor Loft. You'd see all these brands were kind of defining the workplace. I think interestingly, the guards have changed on that. And so when we've gotten this question over the last year or so, we've had to kind of revisit the question. Say, are we looking at the right kind of idols, right? Are we looking at the right proxies? And so not only did we take some time to go re-answer that question, we actually decided to publish it because customers were asking, who are you? Who is this brand? What can I think of you as?
Oh.
And so we published it on our website. You can now click on our 5-year plan and go look and see exactly what we want to get done. So the first thing I'd say is like, let people in. It doesn't need to be a secret, what we're after, but we look at predecessors like Under Armour and Lululemon, who were category creators. Under Armour creating what we think of today as athletic wear. Lululemon today creating what we think of as athleisure. I would say Spanx is a great example of creating shapewear. All wonderful examples of category creators who have many followed suit, but one was the clear creator there. And for us, that would be work leisure, right? We want to really define what the bounds of that are, what the dimensions are, and welcome others into the fold, but really enjoy kind of leading the conversation. What does that mean? Teaching lessons to new employees at companies that are entering hybrid workforces for the first time, how to dress, right? How do we become the authority, not through forceful takeover, but through a thoughtful perspective on what it means to be work leisure.
But that's a very interesting answer, and I must say so. Yeah, so you have a vision laid out and how you want to be perceived by consumers, and what do you think about? I think becoming a category leader or kind of disrupting the category can also be one of the things that is possible, especially in the post-pandemic world. Great. So Aman, before we let you go, I think we have 2 to 3 more minutes. So this is a question that I ask in every webinar to our panelists is, what is that one piece of advice that you would like to give to, let's say, someone in your family who comes to you and asks you, hey, I want to launch a business and share something that can help me in moving forward, because I know the path, it's going to be a marathon. So what do you think that you would share with your loved one who would like to follow your footsteps?
Yeah, first of all, I'd make sure that they were serious about it, right? I think there's a lot of dreaming that can be done, but as I'm sure Emily can attest, that the reality looks a lot different, and there are hard days. So the first question I'd ask them is to make sure that they were deeply passionate about the solution they were building, because I do think that that passion will carry you through the tougher times. Because if you don't care about it, the first speed bump comes along, you're gonna jump off. And the second thing I would do is encourage them to focus on that solution and make sure it's a real problem, and make sure the people who are suffering from that real problem, and problem is used generously, right? Sweat stains aren't some life-threatening problem, but we all would love to move a little bit, better and not go to the dry cleaner and stuff like that. These aren't massive earth-shattering problems, but they're problems nonetheless. And that the person who is experiencing this problem statement tries your product for the first time, cannot imagine living without it. And if you haven't solved it to that degree, then you're going to have a really hard road ahead. So really nailing that product early and often, and ensuring that your customer is in an unbiased way suggesting that they could not possibly imagine living without your product, you're gonna have a great time. You'll have hard times too, but it'll be a heck of a lot easier than if your customer gets and says, I guess that solved my problem. I didn't even really think it was a problem, but sure, yeah, very different outcome.
Very, very, I must say that's an excellent advice. So being passionate and kind of knowing the problem and how are we trying to solve it? Definitely by making sure that you have the bandwidth and you are kind of ready for all the turbulence and the challenge that comes along while venturing into a new thing. And I think that this is going to inspire a lot of people. I think anybody who's going to watch this, I think, because these are pearls of wisdom that comes from Aman, or because you have been there and you've done that. And I think a lot of mistakes on the way happen, but the learnings and everything that you do while building a brand can teach a lot of things. And I think, as they say, I think education teaches you something. Basically, I think when we are in college, I think we kind of first learn our lesson and then appear for the exam. But I think in the real world, you kind of appear for the test every day and then learn your lesson. So I think that's how I would like to put it. But thank you so much, Aman, for joining and sharing those insights and learnings. And I'll be in touch. Look forward to hosting you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting me, Emily. It was so nice to meet you. I look forward to catching up with you.
So nice to meet you. I wrote down quantified empathy data. I'm adding it to my to-do list.
I love it. I'm sure we have some secrets to exchange. We should catch up soon.
That would be great.
Thank you, Aman.
Bye, folks.
Thank you, Aman. Wow, Emily, so we have 15 more minutes. So let me come to you. And I think Aman shared some very excellent insights. So I think let's build on top of it.
Great.
Because that term that he coined, I think that's something kind of is resonating with what I was thinking, because I was very recently I came across a story of let's say a showroom of a car, and not everyone who goes there buys a car, right? But I think the people in there can make a big difference ultimately. So even if you go there and you don't want to buy a car, you just want to know, but if you don't want to buy a car, typically the people in that showroom may not give you the right, what you can say, they will think like you are like any other visitor, and they will just let you take a look, not explain everything, and then you go out, right? But then there are brands who, like, for them, everyone is like God, right? It's like literally someone walks into their store, they're like, how can they go above and beyond? And that even if that person does not buy in that visit, that experience they carry with them, and then they come back, right? So that's what I think empathy is, and that's what I believe brand building is. It's because you are not just selling a product, but an experience. And that's why we tend to go to the same cafe, or tend to go to the same restaurant, or tend to go to the same salon, or tend to go to the same bookstore, because of the people, the experience that it create. So I think you are also doing a similar thing. So, and you're learning from Sarah. So what is your big goal, if I may ask? I know that's a very different question to ask, but what is your end goal, big goal? What is that big vision that you have?
Oh, my big vision really is to empower wave makers, to empower others to be inventors, to be creators, to really think outside the box and bring something to life that they never thought they could have without hearing other stories like mine or Sarah's. That's the big goal, is to kind of and help others down that path. there are definitely a lot of things that I've learned after having brought to market two of the inventions that I've had. And I definitely want to share that knowledge. It's going to take time to compile it all and create the content for it, but there is a lot of hardship, a lot of heartache, a lot of aloneness that does not need to exist in this process if the information was made more available from what we've learned through this journey. Because just to say you can be an inventor is empowering and it's awesome, but it's also, there's no school for how to become an inventor. There's no classes you can take in college about invention.
Absolutely.
It is a wide open space, but I do think there are processes that I've learned throughout my own journey and by having other resources like Sarah Blakely and a bunch of other incredible advisors that I would love to share and help the next generation make more changes in sustainability, more changes in better products, to think of how we can make things new and better.
That's very, very thoughtful, I must say, because having that vision definitely helps you. It empowers you ultimately, because when you feel empowered, I think that can make a big difference, because you can add that value in the consumer's life. And doesn't matter what the product is, it's ultimately when the consumer has used it, will they tell their friend? Will that friend tell their friend? I think that's how you get that word of mouth promotion, and that's the best thing that can happen for a brand, and it can scale up so quickly. So as you are selling from your direct to consumer store as well as through Amazon as a channel, and definitely you are utilizing all the paid ads and other forms of marketing, what is like TikTok you also mentioned, what channel has worked best for you? Or if you have to, let's say, rank marketing channels for which have worked for you, how do you rank them? Let's say TikTok one or Facebook one.
Sure thing. So I'll make a note. We've done no paid ads to date, 0 paid ads. We've definitely doubled down on the customers. So our advertising budget is going to the customers, whatever else we can do to make their journey and their experience better, so that they end up being that word of mouth advertising that we want. Because if they believe in the product, their friends will believe in the product, more so than a TikToker telling them it's a great product. Granted, that's our approach. With that said, we have found that YouTube is, at least for us, being like education focused about how to use the product. YouTube is definitely our #1 driver in terms of the social media platforms. And I think it's just because it's that long form, very detailed platform that allows you to just, make sure things are not lost in translation, or you're not trying to fit it into a 5-second clip or a photo, the things you're trying to teach your customers. And then also Instagram, because the customers are posting, they're very engaged with the product and with the brand, and they love to post their results and tag us. And so from that end of it, as mentioned, we're bootstrapped and small team and growing, which is awesome, but we just haven't had the resources or the time to focus on the social channels. And I mentioned that because it's not a must. It's our journey. This is how it happened for us. But, going into it, the number of times I hear you have to be posting on Instagram 5 times a day, all these things, it's not a must for every brand. And so I want to emphasize that we have not directed our resources towards that. And we've done very well and have built a fabulous brand in a new category based off of that path.
Wonderful.
It's not a must, but it definitely isn't everyone's journey either. Some it isn't.
So you're kind of writing your own playbook, I can say that. And of course, I think the power of community, and I think your early adopters, I think they themselves are your ambassadors. And I think, sky's the limit. I think that word of mouth promotion is so powerful that it can beat anything, I think, because I think the world that we are living in, because of the pandemic, the whole online space was cluttered, because you have to spend so much on ad, even to get attention, right? And it's not possible for everyone. Of course, I think focus on product, and then letting your consumers speak for you. That's very rewarding, and it's a great insight. I think both you and Aman mentioned the same thing. So that's extremely important, because I think once your product is hit, nothing can stop you. So
Exactly. That's the truth. Aman emphasized it a lot, and it really boils down to great product. That's the foundation. And if you create great product, your team, your company will believe in that product, and your
yeah,
customers will believe in that product. You're living up to the expectations.
yes,
And so it just becomes, all the marketing side becomes much easier because people are excited about great product that actually delivers.
great.
We tested our product before we launched on over 500 customers,
Wow.
paid customers, but 100% refund if they did not like it, and got that
Mm.
feedback. And I think that we made a lot of changes based on all that testing. 500 is a lot,
Yeah,
but the data points that Aman was emphasizing is, the holy grail for how to build product. And I think it is very important in the journey as well.
wonderful. That wow, that's a big thing that you have done. I mean, that research is
Yeah.
very insightful, because you get to talk to your end consumers, and I mean, because
Mhm.
I think those 500 will cover everyone, so it's a big data point.
Exactly. All
Wonderful.
different hair types, all different hair lengths. We want to know who our customer is, make sure it works for all of them, and then revise the product. And, as I mentioned, we're a small team, we're bootstrapped, but we did do that. And that is a big chunk of a project to do 500 customers. So
Hmm.
that is the right place. And I do believe that is for all companies, is to focus on product. People want
Very
great
true.
product.
Very
Yeah.
true. And if I may ask, definitely you have built your community and the target audience and your existing customers. So how do you engage with your existing customers? Do you do email campaigns, or do you do webinars, or what are some of the things, especially email campaigning, in order to stay in touch with them? Definitely, you have like very niche products, and I think every email campaign cannot be about the product. It has to be about the story of the brand. It has to be about how the product gets manufactured, who are your partners, or the behind the scenes story. So how do you do email campaigning? Are you doing it? How frequently do you send email campaigns?
So
Mm,
we are ramping up email campaigns. We have not done it to date in a heavy systemized format. It has
mm,
been focused on education when it comes to the email campaigns to date, so
correct.
that, when they get the product, are they using it? Do they like it? Do they need help? We're here to help. So
Mm,
that is the series that we focus on. But across other platforms, it definitely is a storytelling of why we made this product, how much integrity goes behind this product. Like, we
correct.
really do believe in it. We did these testings.
Yeah.
What type of materials we're using, because we choose eco-friendly materials through and through. We've signed up for 1% for the planet. We are looking towards the future of the world and beyond just our company. How can we make that world better?
Mm,
The fact that it's female founded and by a company that genuinely cares, all of that is being wrapped up into storytelling. And also the inventor story and that inventor process, because we want our story to encourage and empower others. I think one thing to note is, we will be releasing some new styles, and you're right, it's been one hero product. So how do we talk
yeah.
about new product? And so we're really going to be focused on the current customers to likewise test this product
Mm,
and make sure they love it, and help develop the vernacular around what we're going to be calling this product and how we communicate it, and then use that insight into the email campaigns for those new products and how those new products can better their lives.
wow, that can be an excellent strategy. And maybe we would love to help you out in that direction, because
Yeah.
we have been doing that, and we know what are the pain points and the challenges, because I think email is such an essential tool. And I think it can be, it's an enabler to kind of tell your story. And because I think an email is something people want to know. It's not just about the product, but I think people want to know uh, from the brand, what's the story. I think people have this, because I think everything that we buy around us, we subconsciously connect with that thing, and then we make that purchase decision, because that intent, it can be need based, it can be impulse based, or it can be a recommendation from a friend. But I think once, let's say, someone who discovers your brand for the first time, I think once you are able to tell that story and tell how it is different, why it's useful or what value addition it is doing. I think for you, it can make a phenomenal difference. And I think it's just a matter of kind of taking those, what you can say, baby steps in the right direction, because eventually it's like a marathon that you're running. So every day, that email campaign can make a big difference, and bringing in, like, let's say you have 5,000 people in your email list. I think those 5,000, even if they do one share, if they bring one person, your email list goes to 10,000, and then 10,000 becomes 20,000. So it's like that multiplier effect that can ultimately help you in
Yeah,
reduce it, in becoming a very effective channel, and then focus more of your efforts on the product, and then kind of eventually helping you in keeping the customer acquisition costs less, because ultimately you have built a great product and it should be used by everyone. That should be the end goal. Just like how Apple will say, hey, we have sold 1 billion iPhones, right? So,
yeah,
and now, so is iPhone the best product? Yes, it is. And but the way they are able to tell their story and everything that they do is behind the why, the purpose is very, very strong. And that's what connects with the audience. And as you mentioned, another point, like being social, like planet conscious and putting in that effort, ultimately that 1% makes a huge difference, because if every brand starts doing it, it can make a phenomenal difference
yeah,
in the long run. So
definitely.
would love to
One,
help you out on that front.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll emphasize that you're completely right about the importance of email marketing as part of the strategy, and being a brand that gets the most of their revenue from Amazon. You know, how do you get those Amazon customers? How do you get their email addresses?
Correct.
And for us, like, the most important reason to actually connect with them is to make sure that they don't just buy it, try it, and not like it because we can help. You know, we want to help them on that journey. And so
Yeah.
by offering these one-on-one tutorials, it is a way for an Amazon customer to get the product, see an insert saying that they can sign up for a one-on-one, and then at least then we have some type of communication email wise with them to make sure that they are supported, because Amazon to date has not allowed for that two-way
Yes.
communication street. And so we do see immensely the importance of email, and we're still, you know, that was our first step of trying to get our Amazon customers
Correct.
into our email marketing campaigns. But there's definitely other thoughts around it, and we need to spitball more. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
Let's
important.
brainstorm more on
Yeah.
it. Would love to contribute and share my learnings, experiences, and a lot of things. I have a lot of ideas that I can bounce off maybe in another conversation that we can hop on to. So for today's conversation, before we let you go, yeah, just
Yeah.
like what the question that I asked Aman, I think similar question. What is that one piece of advice that you would like to give to your friend, to your loved one, or someone who wants to launch, get started, venture into a new thing? It can be direct to consumer, it can be a B2B business, it can be anything. Uh, Especially from, because I think you literally took that call that you want to launch this, right? I mean, as a
Mhm.
business, as a
Yeah.
commercial business, it's not something like a hobby. You made
No.
your hobby, your interest into a venture, and when you have big goals. So, uh, what would you like to share? Something that can inspire?
Um, I think the thing that I would like, one piece of advice that was given to me very early on in my journey, it was that no one's going to care as much as you. And it goes back to Aman's focus on passion. But it also, it's empowering in the sense that, like, yes, you can talk to experts, you can get advice from some advisors, you can hire some consultant, but in the end, you
Yes.
have to be able to filter what's important, what applies, what doesn't apply, because you care the most. No one's
Correct.
going to care as much as you. You know the most. You have the most passion and heart into this. And so to really lean into that and embrace it, and don't necessarily rely wholeheartedly on any expert's advice, on any advice that any of us gave today. You know, be able to filter it and apply it to your unique situation, because you know it best. You care the most. Yeah, I
Wow.
think that's the truth.
That's excellent advice, I must say. And because that one statement that you mentioned, no one will care more than
Yeah,
you. for your product and for your
Oh,
customers.
hear
Yeah,
more.
that's so.
It's true. It's true.
It's a excellent insight. So I think two key takeaways. I think quantitative empathy, and I think what you
Yeah.
mentioned, no one will care more about the product, and you a consumer will. I think you are the one who are going to run that show. So having those two important piece of advice, I think great things can happen. I think it's anybody can just use it in their venture, and I think it's going to surely inspire a lot of people who are going to uh, look at this panel discussion. And I must say, this has been an excellent conversation, Emily, with you and Aman. And thank you for sharing the knowledge, insights, and the learnings. And I think opening up about a lot of different things, because you touched upon so many different aspects of business, and it's not that easy, because they say when you're doing a business, it's like you're running a marathon, and every day it's like a sine wave with like ups down, and
Oh yeah.
you have to
You got to learn how to kind of be more centered through all of
correct.
that. It's
Yeah,
okay. It is going to be
you're
up and downs.
you have to keep inspiring yourself every day, and I think I'm kudos to you and your colleague and everyone
Thank
on your
you.
team, and more power to you. And I think you're going to inspire more, just like how Sarah has inspired you. I think you're going to inspire a lot, and I think because uh, people typically know what they want to do sometimes, but typically they don't have the right guidance sometimes, so they don't do it, because typically everyone has a lot of doubts, right? They don't start.
Yeah.
But I think when you have a mentor, when you have someone who can tell you the right things, you at least take that next step. So I think your insights will definitely inspire a lot of female entrepreneurs, of course, and looking forward to having you and host you again, maybe on some other topic. And thank you so much for taking out time today and joining in. I'll be
My
in touch.
pleasure.
Let's speak again soon. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thank you, Kuldeep.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye bye. Take care. Thank you.